What's up, guys? Back at the airport, on our way to our next month-long trip, actually starting here at JFK Airport, so definitely want to stay tuned to the channel for that. But we wanted to film a little bit of a recap of the entire Costa Rica trip and touch a little bit on expenses, get an idea of just how expensive it may be to travel to Costa Rica. And so altogether, all said and done, we spent a little over $1,200 each. And in general, I would say the scale is big money spenders on one side and penny pinchers on the other. We definitely fall closer to the more frugal side of the scale, but there are definitely opportunities where we maybe could have, saved a little even more money. We did do a private stay at a hostel once. We ate out a few times, but I would say for most people, this is on the more affordable end without going to the extreme.
We kept track of all of our expenses on a spreadsheet, and we broke it down by 5 categories. The category where we spent the most money, accommodations, took up about 42% of our expenses for the trip. We stayed mostly in hostels to save money, but we also stayed in 2 Airbnbs. Our second most category is transportation, which included flights, buses, some very cheap Ubers, but we mostly did walking around the city, and that took up about 32% of our expenses. Our third category is food. We ate out a little bit, but we mostly cooked when we had the opportunity to, when our hostels and Airbnbs had kitchens. That took up about 14% of our expenses. When we ate out, we averaged about $10 per meal, $10 to $11 per meal. And when we cooked for ourselves, we averaged around $4 per meal, which was a huge cost savings. For activities, which included the national park entrances, the hiking trail, the ATV, zip line, that took up about 11.5% of our expenses. And finally, our miscellaneous category, which took up about 1.5% of expenses, included bathroom stops, SIM card, and laundry.
Apart from our expenses, we also want to touch on our favorites or awards per se that we created for the trip. Grace wrote up hers, I wrote up mine, so we haven't seen each other's. But the first one we wanted to do was our favorite city, of course. Went to quite a few on this trip, and for me, I think there's a clear-cut winner, which is Puerto Viejo. Of course, I was thinking of the beach towns, especially being from the Northeast, where there's cold weather right now. And then Puerto Viejo was also around 8 to 10 degrees cooler than the Pacific towns, and had a Caribbean influence that was really cool. And then also, we saw quite a lot of wildlife, so Puerto Viejo for me.
My favorite city was also Puerto Viejo, basically for the same reasons as him. Being from the Northeast, it's cold, I like warm, I like beaches, waves. Also, the vibe of the town is just a lot chiller, less touristy, and so we were able to enjoy sort of the speed of life there a little bit more than, say, Jaco and Manuel Antonio on the Pacific side. My favorite stay of the whole trip, which was hard to choose because we stayed in such a big variety, was definitely the Jaco Airbnb because it was relatively close to town. It was very private. We had a studio space with a bed, a bathroom, and a kitchen. And I liked how cozy and safe I felt there. Versus in hostels, you have to interact a lot with people. Sometimes it can get a little bit tiring. Also, fighting over the kitchen can get a little bit tiring.
Grace actually brought up a lot of good points about the Jaco Airbnb, because that was actually the one I was debating with. But I decided to go with a different stay. But I agree about the private room. But I actually decided to go with Pagalu Hostel in Puerto Viejo. I don't know if there's influence there from the fact that I just really liked Puerto Viejo, and biased because of the size of the town, but it was really close to everything. And I'm shocked at myself because that's a hostel. We stayed 4 people in a room, but 4 actually wasn't that bad. And I thought the overall hostel itself was quite nice, and we met some cool people there. Next is our favorite activity that we participated in, not including in the national parks. I feel like a lot of people when they go to Costa Rica do a lot of activities, and I think we found some good ways to do some free ones, but we did quite a few tours per se. And my favorite one was the Los Cañones zipline tour. And I'm kind of cheating here because we bought it as a package with the Los Lagos thermal or hot springs. But I really enjoyed the zip line. I've never done it before. and this one was with handbrakes, which I thought was pretty fun. It was in the rain, and naturally a little scared of heights, and for me, apart from the Tarzan swing, I felt like very confident, unusually confident, being up there in the canopies, and our tour guide was amazing, so it's gonna be that one for me.
I've done ziplining before. I really loved it, but I think ATV takes the cake for me here because it's new. We got to see some really beautiful sights, and also I really enjoyed the jostling and the bumpiness of the road. It made it really exhilarating and exciting. Now for my favorite national park, which was a little bit hard to choose between two of them, but ultimately I loved Cahuita National Park because we got to see so many animals: sloths, monkeys, iguanas, raccoons. We got to see beautiful beaches too, and even swim in them after a hike. And the best part, it was free.
Yeah, that's also going to take the cake for me. Cahuita National Park. One of the few parks we went to that was beaches and wildlife, as Grace said, but the biggest thing was that it was free.
As for beaches, we went to a total of 10 in Costa Rica, so we had a lot to choose from. But my favorite, which you can only get to from the Manuel Antonio National Park, is Playa Manuel Antonio, and I like that one because the waves were really calm. It was absolutely gorgeous. The sand was really nice, and I just really liked floating in the water.
I think it's interesting that Grace talked about how calm waters was the big attraction for her, but she knows that I really enjoyed the many beaches we went to on this trip with big waves. And there are a few of those for me, but I'm gonna go with Playa Macha in Quepo/Manuel Antonio. Although the walk there was a little bit long, I thought that made it a little exciting, especially the part where at the very end you have to hold on a rope to get down to it. And then I also just really enjoyed how it was very, more secluded. There was only probably around 10 people, including us there. As it pertains to our favorite meal, and we're only taking the ones where we ate out at a restaurant, for me, it's very clear. It's Soda Yogi's in San Jose. I mean, that was just amazing. I was so hyped to go there, and it really impressed me. And over everything, I thought what I enjoyed the most was we discovered a new dish that we both really enjoyed, which was the olla de carne. I never had that before, and it got me to the point where that last day in San Jose, I wanted to go back so bad and was so deflated when they didn't have the olla de carne.
I think I'll have to give this one to the Caribbean chicken and coconut rice and beans that we had at Soda Riquísima in Puerto Viejo, because it was sort of like an elevated casado. And we also tried patacones, which are smashed plantains there. So all these new flavors. Because Costa Rica is absolutely teeming with wildlife, we couldn't just choose one of our favorite animals. We did top 3. So my third favorite animal is the sloths, because they're very elusive to anywhere but Costa Rica. You see them everywhere in Costa Rica. Second were the toucans, because they're colorful and they're beautiful. And number 1 was the rare quetzal bird, because you can't find them in too many places.
I'm actually quite shocked because you had the exact same 3 animals to me in the exact same order. I thought maybe same animals, different order. But sloth, we got to see them so many different times. We saw a baby sloth with the mama sloth. But yeah, of course, it's got to be the quetzal. Grace spotted it, so I'll give her kudos for that. But some people go there, pay for a tour guide with binoculars to try to see one. And when we got back to the hostel, everybody was going crazy that we saw one.
Make sure to check out the rest of our Costa Rica vlogs if you're interested in anything we talked about in this video. We have all of them saved in our channel under our Costa Rica playlist.
That's it for Costa Rica. See you later.